it's Ashley, and I am here today to do another Animal Mythbusters with you guys. So the animal that we're going to be learning about today is a bat. So we're going to talk about some of the misconceptions about bats and decide whether they are true or whether they are false. So to get us started, we have 9 different species of bats here in Iowa. So I figured we could look at some of the different kinds of bats that we have. So we have the little brown bat, the big brown bat, the northern long-eared bat, the eastern red bat, the silver-haired bat, the evening bat, the hoary bat, my favorite, the tricolored bat, and the Indiana bat. And all of our bats that we have here in Iowa eat insects. Bats further south in Latin America might drink nectar or they might eat fruit, but the bats we have here in Iowa eat insects. So that brings us to our first myth. So myth number 1, bats will suck people's blood. What do you guys think? Do you think that's true or do you think that's false? And I'll give you a second to think about it. Bats will suck people's blood. All right, that myth is false. That is not true. So there are about 1,300 different species of bats in the world. And of all those bat species, 3 of them, just 3, are vampire bats, or bats that drink blood. All 3 species of vampire bats live in Latin America, so we don't have any here in the US. And of those 3 vampire bats, only 1 drinks the blood of mammals. And that one species usually drinks the blood of animals, such as cattle, so they don't typically go after humans. It's very, very rare for that one species of vampire bat to drink the blood of a human. The other 2 vampire bats typically will target birds, so they don't drink mammal blood either. So that is a myth. Bats do not suck people's blood. All right, myth number 2, bats are blind. What do you guys think? Do you think bats are blind? Can bats see? That one is also false. So that is a myth. Bats are not blind. Bats have eyes. Sometimes they're a little bit more poorly developed. Sometimes they are a little bit better developed. It depends on the bat species. Some of our larger bats, like the ones that we have down in South America, actually have better eyesight than humans even do. Some of our other bats, not so much, but all bats can see, so that is a myth that bats are blind. They are not. All right, number 3, bats have excellent hearing. What do you guys think? I'm a bat. I got my big ears on. Do you think that bats have good hearing? That one is true. Bats do have excellent hearing, and our bigger bats, or our mega bats, they will find their food using their sight and using their smell. But our smaller bats, our micro bats that we have here in Iowa, they will find their prey or their food by using something called echolocation. So here I have my bat, and my bat uses echolocation to find its prey. So he puts out a sound wave, they emit a sound, and they wait for those sound waves to bounce off of objects or insects and come back to the bat. And so bats have really good hearing because they can hear those echoes bouncing off of objects where they are flying. And that helps them locate a prey, and it also helps them navigate. And so we said that although bats aren't blind, some of them might not have great eyesight. So that's one way that they can find their prey, and that kind of helps them. Also, our bats are nocturnal, so they are out at night, which might make it even harder for them to see. So they use that echolocation to find their food and to find their prey. So they do have excellent, excellent hearing. All right, myth number 4, bats are flying mice. What do you guys think? Here I have my mounted bat. I'll bring it so you guys get a little bit of a closer look. What do you guys think? Bats are flying mice. So although bats are kind of fuzzy and about the same size, or at least this one is about the same size as maybe a mouse or a rat, and they are both mammals, bats are not flying mice. They are their own separate animal. So they actually are in their own order called Chiroptera, whereas mice and rats are in their separate order called Rodentia. So our bats, they actually don't even have very similar personalities or characteristics of rodents. So rodents will chew on wood, rodents will chew on plastic, and bats don't do that. Bats are not a nuisance. So bats are not flying mice. They are actually more closely related to humans than they are to mice. So that is a myth. All right. Myth number 5. Bats get tangled in people's hair. Bats get tangled in people's hair. I guess this should say bats intentionally get tangled in people's hair. That's a pretty old myth, and that one is false. So bats do not try to get themselves tangled in your hair. Bats don't try to get in your hair to make a nest. Bats don't make nests. That myth came from the fact that when a bat is sleeping or when a bat is hanging upside down, they have to fall and flap their wings a few times in order to take off in flight. So they have to fall and kind of swoop down. So they're not swooping to go after your hair, they're just swooping so they can flap their wings and take off in flight. So that's where that myth comes from, but it is false. Bats do not get tangled in people's hair. All right, and our last myth, myth number 6, is that all bats have rabies. What do you guys think? All bats have rabies. All right, that one is also false. That is also a myth. So most bats do not have rabies, but they are a mammal, so they can contract the disease. However, it's about 5% of bats that are captured and tested test positive for rabies. So it's really not that many, and it's actually a lot easier to capture a sick bat that has rabies. So scientists believe that that number is actually even less. They think it's about less than 0.5%. So less than 0.5%. But the reason it's higher for bats that we captured is just it's easier to capture bats if they're sick. However, that being said, you should always use caution. If you need to handle a bat for any reason, always wear your gloves. But I would avoid touching bats or any really wild creature if you can. So there you have it. We have our myths here. Bats do not suck human blood. They are not blind. They do have excellent hearing. They will not, or they are not flying mice. They do not get tangled in your hair. And most of them, the vast majority, do not carry rabies.